Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with politics editor Jim Antle. So Jim, obviously Republicans are learning a lot of lessons from Republican candidate Glenn Youngkin's victory in the Virginia gubernatorial race. A lot of implications there for the midterms, but what do you think his victory tells us about how to successfully navigate the Donald Trump factor?
So I think that was one of the things that he did most skillfully in the race. So Virginia had always had a problem of you have the Northern Virginia suburbs of Washington, D.C., and as a Republican, you have to try to not lose them too badly and to cut into the Democratic margins there. But the more Republican parts of the state where you still need to turn all of your people out are actually very conservative. And so things that you might do to not lose Northern Virginia make you demoralize your conservative base in other parts of the state that are still culturally more Southern. And Trump made that problem worse. So there are parts of the state, especially in southwestern Virginia, that are actually really Trumpy, and where Trump was winning 85% of the vote. But in Northern Virginia, he was sort of anathema to the voters there. And so any kind of embrace of him would have really hurt Youngkin in Northern Virginia. Any rejection of him had the potential to depress his vote totals in the rural and southern parts of the state, which he definitely couldn't afford to do. Youngkin was able to be favorable enough to Trump that Trump didn't get angry and denounce him or disavow him, so he kept Trump's endorsement, but touted the endorsement very sparingly and didn't talk much about Trump. And Terry McAuliffe's commercials attacking him for saying nice things about Trump, you could only produce the same two quotes over and over again. So it wasn't a convincing attack for the Democrats. And so Youngkin may have shown a lot of Republicans are going to be running next year that your only choices aren't being Liz Cheney or Matt Gaetz. You can find this middle path of some kind of respect for the former president, but you don't have to run as sort of Trump's mini-me.
What kind of lessons do you think Democrats are going to learn on this front from Terry McAuliffe's loss? Do you think it means that we won't hear them talk about Donald Trump so much in the midterms?
I think you're going to get some campaign operatives who give that advice that may be moving a little bit away from Trump. Biden coming in and talking, mentioning Trump 24 times. Maybe that's overkill. I think, though, they're still going to be stuck a little bit in a rut, and I think everybody is retreating to their pre-existing positions. So the more liberal Democrats are going to take away from this. The problem is we're not doing enough of what we said we're going to do, and therefore our supporters are demoralized and they're not turning out, and Republicans are. So what we need to do is do more of the stuff that we're already doing, and ram a bunch of these bills through, get them to the president's desk, sign them, build it back better. Centrists who are nervous, who are wary of that agenda and fear it will cost them their seats next year, have now more reason to feel that way. And so if you're Joe Manchin, I don't see why you don't dig in after Virginia, but the Progressive Caucus is already digging in, and President Biden essentially endorsed that view when he reacted to the election. He said, hey guys, let's just pass some stuff.
Finally, Democrats have really two choices now how to proceed ahead of the midterms. They can double down on this liberal agenda, try to get as much passed as possible before they lose their majorities, or they can moderate and try to hold on to those majorities and get back to their agenda after the midterms. Which do you think they'll pursue?
I think, they have the option of trying to stay liberal on the spending. Some of those items poll well. While sort of diluting some of the wokeness and moving away from some of that. It seems like it's issues like critical race theory and transgender policies in schools and how students are being treated. Those things really hurt the Democrats in Virginia, and they're going to be running the midterms in a lot of states that are less Democratic than Virginia. So they could do that. But I think there is going to be just this fight where lots of liberals are going to feel that doubling down is the answer because they want to turn out their base, and they feel that the part that they're most eager to solve is the lack of turnout of their own voters, and this is a way to do that. And some of it's self-serving to feel that way because you just want to pass stuff, and even if you lose, like you did when you passed Obamacare, you've still got Obamacare. The centrists, I think, are going to be scared of that. I think they're going to be more nervous as a result of what happened, not only in Virginia, but in New Jersey, where Republicans came very close in an even bluer state with not a particularly good candidate or flawless campaign, as was run in more or less in Virginia. So I think that there's going to be, every camp is, I think, going to stay mired in the status quo, but I do think there's going to be advice to try to be a little bit less woke, a little bit less focused on Trump. But that's where a lot of these people are, so it's going to be hard advice for some of these candidates to take.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more reporting from Jim and the rest of the political team at WashingtonExaminer.com.